Ladakh, the Himalayan paradise, the land of passes, nestled between Kashmir Valley on the west and the Tibetan Valley on the east, has great cultural and historical significance. Further, Ladakh gained geopolitical significance after the 1940s due to disputes with northern neighbor Pakistan and later in the 1950s with China, its neighbor on the east. And that was also the beginning of a socio-economic transformation, a transformation that continues to have deep-rooted implications on everyday life. The 1990s saw Ladakh propel towards a different developmental plan, which is not sustainable, according to many Ladakhis, including Dr. Mohammed Deen, President, Ladakh Environment and Health Organization, LEHO in short.
I told you, this organization came into existence somewhere in late 80s. The main objective or main worry among me and my friends was that Ladakh, which was completely self-sufficient for food, for clothing and for housing, suddenly was changing, the whole situation in Ladakh was changing. The main forces which was responsible for the changes were the tourism. The tourism had very easy money in the whole system. So one. Secondly, the government public distribution system where the food was subsidized and was made available right in the villages, not only in cities. Initially, before 1990s, the food was available only at Leh. So the villages had to produce, and they had been producing and meeting their requirement. But after late 80s, the system, 90s, the government decided that the food should be, the subsidized food from the public distribution system should be made available in every village. That was the second. Thirdly, the army. We have a conflict with Pakistan and China. So number of army increased with the result. A lot of Ladakhis got recruited in the army and a lot of army services, transport, labor, supplies, So these three were the main factor for Ladakhis to change from agriculture to non-agricultural activity.
The government run PDS or public distribution system makes subsidized food available to poorer sections of society. Through the PDS system, essential commodities like wheat, rice, sugar are sold through fair price shops. The public distribution system guarantees farmers a stable income through the procurement of food grains at a minimum support price for their crops, preventing potential losses when production exceeds demand. So, why would Ladakhi farmers abandon agriculture and not embrace it?
Ladakhis produce food in the villages to meet their own requirement. When this PDS food came to the village, it was much cheaper if you compare with the labor. Ladakh is it's a short growing period. We have hardly 5 months in a year for growing our agriculture. It's very short season. In this 5 months, again, its labor is very expensive. If you compare with production at your farm and the PDS rates, so the people, it was much not comparable. It was very cheap to get it from the PDS, and then people left that one.
I got it. So you're trying to say that the PDS made them lazy, made them depend on the cheaper PDS food, and they didn't feel the necessity of being self-sufficient.
Yes.
They thought the food is coming from PDS because it's a subsidized rate.
That's
rates.
right.
Okay.
That's right. Not only that, I told you it was not only food, on all general development, for example, greening. Ladakh before 1990s, whole Ladakh was in a mood to do a lot of plantation. If you compare 1970s or 60s with 80s and 90s, we had a lot of plantation program. After 90s, that plantation program also came down. Again, labor problem. In the villages, the people shifted from villages to Leh for tourism and for army. So they could not spare time to do plantation. So the greening also came down. Livestock rearing, not only this, livestock rearing had a very big problem, Ladakh in early 80s, the ratio between one human being to livestock was 1 to 15 or something. It was very huge number of livestock, especially sheep and goat. Suddenly some ethical problem came that people said now rearing sheep and goat and selling them for killing is a sinful thing. So suddenly the mass stopped rearing sheep and goat. That was a great setback for two things. One, it was a great production because the sheep and goat would be reared in the mountains, this alpine pastures, not any cost in the natural areas without spending money for fodder. And secondly, it was producing a lot of organic manure, and that made agriculture very productive. Now, one side they reducing the number of animals, and secondly, this food system that gave a setback to the agriculture.
But if I'm not mistaken, you're referring to Buddhism, and are you?
That's right. Yes.
But then that's been here for centuries.
But then things have changed lately. It was the whole Changtang region. People now rear Pashmina goat, totally Buddhist. Not a single none other than Buddhist exists there. They do it there, but in rest of the area of Ladakh, there was a major change. Now in the villages, we don't know. For example, there is a village called Sabu. In 1980s, Sabu had about 7,000 sheep and goat. There is a village called Phiang, only about 10 kilometers from here. We had about 12,000 sheep and goat. Today, there is nothing. It's all changed. It all depends. That time, almost 90% or 100% Ladakhis were non-vegetarian. Today, you can find a lot of vegetarian in Ladakh. People are changing.
Are you trying to say the demographics is changing? That more Buddhists are...
No. It has nothing to do with the demography. I'm telling the approach of the people towards eating meat, being vegetarian, non-vegetarian. Vegetarian is getting popular. Now the reason for popularity is because today, these days, everything is available in the town. When I'm talking about 80s and 90s, in the winter you can't get any vegetable, any fruits. You can't see greens in the winter. It used to be so cold. But today in the whole winter you get vegetables and fruits. So one can be vegetarian in the present day. In the past days it is not practically possible to live. Now in Changtang everybody eats mutton because they don't otherwise have any possibility to produce vegetable or fruits in the winter and in summer.
Okay, at the village level, what kind of sustainable development, what do you see is happening?
The greatest problem today in Ladakh, in the villages, is out-migration. Villages are almost empty. All youth, educated, uneducated, have left villages. With the result, agriculture is completely different. With the result, the people who have come to Leh getting over-congested. So the whole society system is changing. And the lane which had been surviving Ladakh for so many centuries are just fallow there in villages. So we are trying to revive these villages, bring back the youth to village, create employment in villages. So on that account, lately we had been, because now what happened, as I said, tourism. Ladakh was open for tourism in 1974. Slowly number was increasing. But in past about 6-7 years, the number had been getting double or triple in a year. That was very surprising. Last year we had more than 550,000 tourists, 5.5 lakh. Whole Ladakh, UT, it's only 300,000. So, this 500 just come to Leh. From Leh, they stay in Leh. In Leh, they go to Nubra, Pangong, come back, and doing sightseeing, morning going to villages, monasteries, coming back to Leh. So they all stress, all the income from the villages the tourists are only in Leh. Villages don't get the, money from the tourists. So this time my NGO is trying to do rural tourism. That we call it responsible tourism. We have already taken up in 20 villages this responsible tourism. There we go to the village and try to find houses where they have 2 rooms with a bathroom. Then from the project we furnish this too, but we make a condition with that farmer. You know, he has to be a farmer to have this homestays. We call it homestays. You know, we have a condition with the farmer that whosoever number of tourists comes to your homestay, you have to feed the tourists with the food which produced from your own land. So that is compulsory. In that context, we try to do all the other activities like supplying seeds, training in agriculture, you know. So then also compulsorily he has to have a cow. When there's a cow, there's a land to produce vegetable, oil, dal and everything. This is the agreement we make with this farmer.
Right.
Then we give that funding from the project. And then, you know, in the Leh, for example, wherever you stay, hot water, for the hot water, either you use electricity, kerosene or diesel. Where in the villages, all these homestays have got solar water heater.
Oh.
So it's very environment friendly. You know, my worry is, as I said, Ladakh was self-sufficient for the food. Now today, more than 90% of the food for Ladakhis are also coming from outside. And also, that's a very dangerous thing. Tomorrow, if tourist doesn't come, we are not doing the agriculture. We will be in a very big trouble. Now, this rural tourism, we are trying to revive agriculture, try to make the farmer to produce. Then at least they can, you know, if there is no tourists, but their land is there, they can produce and supply to Leh and supply to the rest of the place.
Are you having success in that? Do you get
very good, positive, but then it is just two years we have started practically doing this work. So it's in inception, but doing very well. But the concept wise, you know, the farmer is in the house. He has not to engage a person to run that homestay. He is there in the house. His kitchen is used as a kitchen.
Awesome.
Guest whoever comes have to stay in a Ladakhi system, whatever system we have. He has not to, because he is there or she is there. Mostly this is run by women, because the mother or some woman is there and she runs it, you know. So this is without, even we are not there, they will be struggling, they would have, you know, will be wasting. With this we have connected with handicraft production. For example, we said all the village, whatever handicraft they produce, we have established a handicraft center where they all bring this, their products, and a tourist comes to all these homestays, they go and try to buy, because it's seen that the tourists, when they go to a new place, they want to buy a souvenir. So that, and also we are trying to develop sort of a museum in the village, some restaurant, when you go there you can get something. So trying to bring at village level some attraction. But
what about the funds? Who's funding you?
This is a foreign funding project.
Okay.
Yes, as I said, we are working on the environment. Environmental issue is very, very dangerous here, because Ladakh depends on glacier water. Glacier is, you know, the mountains, the snow, after the snowfall, when it remains for many, many years, it gets frozen and the mountain becomes a glacier. And in the past, you know, now 15, 20 years back, there's a normal snowfall every year. Every winter there used to be about half, 2 inches, 6 inches, or even up to 1 feet snow every year. So that will recoup these glaciers. But after this problem of global warming is a global issue, climate change, the snow is not coming in time. If it comes, very less snow. The weather is much warmer. Today, whatever temperature you are feeling, it not used to be like this in 20 years back or 30 years back. When I was young child, it used to be very cold. terribly cold. Now that temperature you can't find. For glacier, it's very important to recoup that, melt. In the summer it melts, in the winter it recoups. That is not taking place. It's getting reduced day by day. And a lot of glaciers, which I've seen on my own eyes, that they're extinct, they've gone out. And a lot of bigger glaciers are melting. If you go and see in this river, there's a lot of water. It's all melting of glaciers there. Without rain, there's a lot of water. When there's very hot sunny day, you get a lot of water in the rivers. We have got 4 or 5 major rivers. In Nubra, we have got 2 big rivers, that Siachen River and Nubra River. In Kargil, we have got Suru River. In Leh, we have got this Sindh River and Zanskar River, full of water, in the peak of the summer, without rain, because of the sun. So that is melting of our glaciers. So things are not going to be good in another 30, 40 years. Maybe if the same thing goes, if we don't really check on the global warming up. Of course, in the world there is a target that everybody has to reduce this greenhouse gas production, and India is already given that by 2030 they will bring down to 50%. If that program goes as per the world target for reduction of greenhouse gases, hopefully Ladakh will survive. Otherwise, it's really very dangerous for a place like Ladakh.
What are the consequences?
That is the actually, what will happen. When there's no water, people can't live. River water will be there for some time, and then all people from the villages. Right now in Ladakh, I don't know how much you have already visited, villages are in the lap of a mountain. There's a big mountain and there is a village. The size of the village is determined by the size of the glacier on the mountain. Now these glaciers are reducing, the village has to be reduced. One day when the glaciers are completely melt, the village cannot exist there. We all are existent on the water. When there is no water, we cannot exist. So it's very dangerous for the future of Ladakh, this global warming or the climate change. The difference is, the major polluting in Ladakh today is the transport system. I told you in 1990s and 1980s, we had about 5,000 cars or 5,000 vehicles. Today in Leh, we have got 40,000 registered vehicles. 40,000. It's a small population, 40,000 registered vehicles, and there are a lot of army vehicles, lot of vehicles every day coming from rest of the country to this place. So the pollution from this transport, every car produces about 12.4 kg of carbon dioxide on average. So, and for where this greenhouse gas will go, greenery is minimum here. We are not doing any attention on greening. If you do, we have a lot of open space, barren land. And then in the river, right now we have water. There's technology, we can lift water and take it. In the past it was not possible. But if you do greening, we can control to some extent the greenhouse gases. Otherwise, major polluting factor today is the transport system.
Because there's no public transport here,
Yeah, very minimal public transport. All tourists use taxis. Every day, Pangong, Leh to Pangong Leh, about 600-700 taxis go there, every daily basis. If you have a public transport system, 500 can be reduced to 50 buses. Very good buses, air-conditioned buses. 50 will take this 500. 500 means about 1,000 people, about 2 or 3 in one car. So you can reduce it if you really methodically or with a proper planning bring this public transport system. But in due course it's going to change. It's not going to remain the same thing, because we all are talking about e-vehicles, electric vehicles. It will come and finally we'll have to go with the electric vehicle.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you.